Keep it coming, stagger it, but like a. A little bit more, keep it coming still, don't let it go yet. We'll stop on 3. 1, 2, 3. Ah, I love the singing voice. Thank you those that met at the fire tent and all the music was happening. You found each other when you walked up here, and those that waited here for us, thank you for waiting here for us. I wanna just share a little bit about who I am, a little bit about what we're up to, and just give you some kind of a sketch of how you can be in this space that will be supportive of how I like to hold a container, and hopefully give you some freedom of having choice of how to be here, which feels important. My name is Aaron Johnson. I'm in the middle of 5. And I have an organization called Holistic Resistance, which has done a lot of work up the Northwest, and recently I've been doing a lot of work with Dark and Tender and the Chronically Undertouched project, which feels like it's going to be more of what we'll be kind of nibbling, eating on, and feasting on today in some of our thinking. I also oftentimes bring music into my workshops. On anything I'm teaching, I oftentimes bring music in, and I also recognize that music is in a category of where a lot of us have been hurt. And so I take some time right now to talk a little bit about that, just so you know how to hold the music as a collective group, I think, which really will support this workshop happening today. One of the things that's important about me and music, and I'm also, film guys, if you need to talk to me or interact with me, feel free to interrupt me or stop me. I'm gonna make sure we're good there, because I know how hard it is to run video sometimes and it's not working. Oh yeah, totally. One of the things I want to think about is our voices and how we've been hurt. Sometimes like dancing, singing, these are things that make our bodies go like, I can't, I shouldn't, or I can't, and I want to honor that hurt, and sometimes even deeper trauma story. But how we hold the singing voice, and I'll say it now, I might sample it a little bit later in the workshop, is that we invite every single voice. That for us here, we are not fixing pitch, I'm not fixing rhythm, and I have a simple instructional structure on volume that we'll drop into the music with whenever we do music. But I want to explain a little bit that I believe is that music is a birthright. I feel like it's what we were born to have access to. And somewhere along the line, someone may have told us a lie, our voice wasn't worthy to be heard. And I just want to make sure that we talk about village or grief. If singing is not woven in a community accessible way, I feel like we're missing the opportunity of our humanity to really show up for each other. So I just want to explain that in this space, I do have a sensitivity to volume in the sense that I like us to try and track each other. If someone's like getting so loud that I feel like they're pushing other voices out, I might invite that person to catch a little bit lower volume with the group, but it's not for them to stop singing. And I'll try and do that as delicately as possible. I really want to make sure that you know you're being invited in, right? Being invited in. And I know that a lot of us here have done community singing, have had a variety of experiences there. I just want to make sure you all know that when we're singing, that we're trying to invite that tenderness into the space. A couple other pieces too, is there's many ways to teach songs quickly, but one of my favorite ways to do it is to invite people to mumble into a song. And so as I'm teaching a song very kind of simply, you might get some of the words, and you're like, I'm not gonna sing until I get all the words. No, I want you just to kind of get your voice into the song. It's way more important than you getting the words right. And eventually you'll catch the words, but just know that I invite the mumble in, and I wanna stay in that space of like, we really wanna make sure that this is a place for you to like, and also, if we were doing like a full song circle, that would qualify for our beatboxing as well. You can kind of like make up the beats with your body, but this is like, I really want you to feel a younger version of yourself that wasn't told that you had to get it right early and fast and quick. So I want to make sure we can just track that. And that's spiritually foundational into all the work we're doing here. I don't want to give you vocabulary words or concepts. Like, I don't understand what he's talking about. If you don't understand, let me know, and I'll try and track us into it to make sure we know what I'm speaking about. I'm not trying to be confusing or above your intellectual ability. If you don't know, you don't know kind of deal. It's not that vibe we want to have here. Other thing too is I want to invite, I think one of the most important parts, especially this workshop, is I want to just invite us to track that this space is is a welcoming space for the fart. I just want you to follow my logic here. Like, there's a way that once we get to a certain age, we have to like step out of the room or like, oh, excuse me. And I just want you to know, like, especially now that we're indoors, I really want us to like, to really like, know like, what does it mean to be with people till you can smell them? Like really, you know what I mean? It's a really, there's a natural laugh here, which I want to honor, but there's a piece here that's really, I think, tender about what it means to let a space be tender enough for me to fart and still be invited in. Like that is, do you understand how tender that really is as an adult, as a professional, well-paid 401k or whatever we're doing, that we actually can let ourselves be human. That piece, right? That piece. And we always get a chuckle, and we should, but the reason we get a chuckle for the fart is because there's so much branding of jokes from South Park to everything else has some kind of a little critique of like, oh, you stink, or a fast way to like push people away is their dignity is their smell, right? That's how we kind of, oh, I'm better than you because I smell better, right? No, there's a whole industry built on that, right? Like the chemicals we spray to feel better than someone else is not something casual to look at. So I just want to name the fart pokes at that a little bit. You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm tracking here? So when I say I invite the fart, we should chuckle, right? We should. Welcome. It really is. It really is. I've 10 years I've been saying this, and people are like, but I can't. I just want you to understand what I'm trying to say here. I just want to make sure I spend some time here to understand that this is not like a thing I throw out in my prep in a structure, and it's not speaking to what I'm actually inviting. That is for us to be that attuned to each other, that we understand that part of dismantling often has those little shifts that have big implications on things we've been told. A lot of you all do like permaculture, live closer to the land in other parts of the country, and I noticed that some of you all like treat water differently here, or you all might understand that pooping in clean water doesn't quite make sense. You've kind of turned that corner in your observation of being in this powerful country called the United States of America per se, right? But here, I think there's another place we can track is the fart, right? The fart is a little place we can look at and examine, sing to, be with, allow to be, all right? And a fart is actually a big umbrella. That kind of covers all of our bodily functions. But the fart, again, is a kind of a famous body smell. It makes a sound sometimes when it comes out. You know, it's a thing that we make jokes about. People have comments, people from childhood to present. So I just want to name that in this space. It might feel familiar because you've done workshops with me before, but I just want to understand that we're talking about building a tender village, which talks about dismantling oppression, but sometimes we don't track the little ways it sits in our bodies, and the fart is a good indicator of a lot of things we're talking about. So it's a quick review. We're going to be singing a little bit. We'll be listening to each other a little bit. This place is a mumble is sacred space. We invite the fart as a part of our thinking. Right? We don't just tolerate it, it's a part of our thinking. Like, how would he examine that? And I hope, my deep hope, is that as we step out of this workshop, that we sincerely sit in a seed planting state with a commitment to watering the seeds of thinking that come today, right? We have like less than 90 minutes with all the transitions and festival activities, which is great and fine and good. But I really hope that we can leave here, and I love some of the folks I walk through festivals and go, Aaron, I saw you 6 years ago, 2 years ago, last year. And that means a lot, not just because of recognition, but I hope that as we see each other again, that we don't just say, I remember, Aaron, that was your workshop, but I go, I've been tending some of the things we've been thinking about collectively that have now grown into something we could not have imagined prior to this moment, right? And we don't actually know what that is yet. But I hope that we can look at our attention and skill set and organic magic that's in the room and start to tap into that resource to see that shift, Okay, I'm gonna take a breath here and let's do a little check-in on any questions, concerns, access needs, things you've been like waiting for a pause, because I kind of talk with my words close together. So I want to take a breath and go, is there anything you're like, I have a question, or I have an access need, or I have a curiosity, or I just want to give space for it. Yes?
I'm just gonna have to leave a few minutes for that.
Not a problem. And anyone can kind of move in and out of the workshop as they need. Just want to name that. So thank you for letting me know. But if you need to step out for whatever reason, please take care of yourself. Any other access needs, acknowledgments, or questions that we have? Great. Oh, right here.
Can I make an offering about the fart?
Yes.
So we can only fart if our parasympathetic nervous system is actually successfully helping us digest what we're going through.
Oh, snap.
And it's actually a good sign that we're like here.
Right.
So fart it up.
Right. So it's actually a biological, see, this is why we pay Morgan big money to be here, is to, while we're still in the fart, yes. Yes.
So what if the fart's like really bad?
Right,
You know,
right,
like
right.
at what point is the line between like leaving to be conscientious
Right,
versus like,
Right.
you know, being in the shame
Right,
sphere
100%.
together, you know?
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's a very good question, right? Because farts can have medical implications for a lot of reasons and have a heaviness to them, right? They almost can feel impactful to the space. And those farts specifically I want to really hold together because last time I checked, I have never seen a fart hurt like tear gas or pepper spray. And I know that if we're serious about dismantling oppression, we can handle a fart. Even the bad ones, even the ones that feel us a little embarrassed. We can handle those. And I mean that with like respect of what we're up against. Like what we're actually up against. When you try and be a human in this very effective capitalist structure, you're gonna get resistance. We're in the middle of it right now, and unfortunately just the beginning of a new era of critical thinking. So I say that not to dismiss the concern, but I often say, if we're trying to dismantle oppression and a fart will throw us off, it's gonna be a long journey. That's the sentence. That's the sentence, right? That's the sentence. Yeah.
So I just want to, on the critical thinking around
Right.
this concept,
Right.
to me, it's respect.
Yes.
Like, if you got a fart and you can't hold it
Right.
in, whatever, that's fine, it's
Right.
human. But it's
Right.
also like, you can,
Yeah.
most of the time,
Right.
most of us can like
Right.
prevent other people from having
Right.
to
Right.
experience that.
Right.
So there is this like,
Right.
it doesn't feel like it's just
Right.
oppressive to
Right.
be considerate.
No, I agree. I would say that in this context, we're trying to take that lens of respect and say the respect now is to be, right? That's what we're trying to shift. Now, if we were at a dinner table where we had all sorts of food and we're trying to entertain ourselves only and not trying to think too critically, I would say, yeah, take your fart outside the dinner table because that's a different container. But this container, I'm inviting us to like notice how uncomfortable I feel to be like, I feel like I'm disrespecting the room. If I'm farting in the middle of Aaron's, like he does a beautiful harmony, he's in his closing act, and then the fart comes, it's gonna interrupt, we're all gonna chuckle. And actually the idea is that we get to actually be a little bit childlike, a little bit out of control as adults. I think for me as adults, a lot of adulting and adult material is being in control. And that fart is one of those things we get wild for a second, just like a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a couple of points like being born, right? Passing from this earth and dying, farting, using the restroom, throwing up. Sometimes we can't stop it. It's just our body takes over. And so this is one of those micro moments we get to be like, that feels like in this container, we want to frame it as respect, right? That's actually the respect we hope for. But you're 100% right. In other containers, this could feel really disrespectful. But in this container, we want to actually notice how much we get to be with it differently. That's the kind of the beauty of a workshop. I appreciate that name. You're the only one probably thinking like, this is respect here. This is like, I feel the respect when I smell you. That's when I feel like, because I'm gonna notice too, COVID's still with us, I know, and I respect that. But just like on Zoom, we can't smell each other. So all those song circles and workshops on Zoom, I just pray for the day I can smell you. So I'm gonna hold that as a part of like what it means to like know that I'm not digitally distant from you is that I get to smell you. That's one of those unique things that only can happen. Like it's hard for like, if we were trying to track like robots amongst us, like the robots have a hard time farting, right? Because they're not that, I'm serious, because they're not biological, they're machines, right? There's fumes, not the humanness. It's a part of us being human is important. Important evidence of us being. Thank you, that's a great piece. Any other things that came up in your bodies around the, yeah?
You're talking about that and the respect and also the child, like, it's also another level of maturity.
Yeah.
To be able to understand that person's having a digestive experience right now and just to continue the conversation.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm right here.
I'm right here.
And I'm looking in your eyes.
Right.
I'm not needing to excuse myself in the
Right.
middle of your story.
Right.
And pass gas.
Right.
And just thinking, I'm sure everybody here has held it for a 90-minute workshop.
Right, yes.
And you're just like, I'm not actually focusing on this.
Right, no, it's true.
Really
It's true.
right now.
100%, 100%. I just want to name, this is all of us, I've been there.
So self-respect.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
part of that.
that's it.
And then to be able to hold the maturity
Right.
around
Right,
that
that piece.
core
Right.
self-respect.
And I want to name, this is our last kind of access need, this is actually the workshop. Like, this is not like the workshop going to start. We're already in it. But if you're like, I have a situation that's different than everyone else's, I'm going to step out and have my fart experience. Yes, no one's going to be like, hey, we need that fart in here. Aaron said at the beginning, we're not, you know, the slippery slope here is that track your capacity. Understand these are all invitations, not requirements. Just tracking our bodies. So I just want to make sure, some of you all get so good at it, be like, you know what? I saw that guy in the blue shirt. He went outside and farted. And I just want you to know, I just want to give you a heads up. You want to get a heads up. Yeah.
I'm wondering how you feel about opening a window to let some tree smells in.
No, that'd be great, actually. No, that would be great, actually, because also just COVID and access needs of airflow. I think it'd be great to open a window. That'd be great.
Only one screen
Okay, so let's do the screen. That'd be great, because I know like other bugs might come in and mosquitoes.
Can I add something?
We can spend as much time on this topic as we need to, because it's actually essential. So go ahead.
Something I think about a lot, because I teach dance and I teach music and I do shamanic counseling and other things, is like just coming home to the animal body, because in our human conditioning, we're so separated
Right.
from
Right.
our biological functions. Like
100%.
We're not supposed to sweat, we're not
Right.
supposed to belch, we're
Right.
not supposed to fart, we're
Right.
not supposed to all kinds of things. And I'm
100%.
like, that's your body.
Right.
This is your soul's
Yes,
vessel.
yes.
This is what you're doing. here.
100%.
And all of us do it. So that's
Yep.
actually an incredible distortion
It
of
is.
consciousness.
It is.
To be
It is.
neurotic about it.
Yeah.
And it's violent to
It
the
is.
body,
It
to
is.
the animal body.
100%.
And it's violent to the belonging to earth.
It is. 100%. Thank you. I couldn't have said it better. I know y'all catch it. And y'all been catching it for a couple of years. And I just want to speak to that as we're talking about tenderness. I think sometimes we have to think about that brand a bit. So I want to hold this thinking, this collective thinking, with a little bit of singing. Some of you all sang this song on the way up here, and I appreciate you all singing it with us. Written by my sister, Alilia Johnson. She's right under me, biologically. And it goes like this. I'm just going to sing through it once, and then you can drop. If you already know it, jump in. Got a little burp happening. I reach down, down, down deep. I reach down, down, down deep. New words, Mother Earth. Mother Earth, welcome me. Mother Earth welcomes me. I reach down. I reach down, down deep. I reach down, down, down deep. Mother Earth, Mother Earth welcomes me. Love the harmonies. Mother Earth welcomes me. I reach down. I reach down, down, down deep. Let your bodies feel it now. I reach down, down, down deep. Every voice is welcome. Mother Earth. Mother Earth. Yes. Yes, Mother Earth. Mother Earth welcomes me. Very good. One more time. I reach down. I reach down, down, down deep. Just want to feel it. Want to feel it. I reach down, down, down deep. That's it. Mother Earth. Yeah, let us swell. Mother Earth, last time, we'll hold it. Mother Earth welcomes me. Let's give it 10 seconds. Let our bodies arrive. Let our voices arrive at this unique moment. If I can get a person that happens to have some kind of timing device, a cell phone or something, a time for me.
150.
No, like to run a timer for me, but thank you for the time. Perfect. Can you set the timer for 5 minutes? Thank you for who called at the time, but I just want to need a timer. So I want to just share a little bit of context of what I'm hoping for us to put our minds towards in this moment of time of really looking at a very vast, complex topic of a tender village and how we might think about tenderness as being central to building community in a way that I feel like I've seen snapshots of it, but I've seen us struggle collectively, I think as a country, but right now we're in the Northwest, and right now we're in kind of a Pacific unique spot of the Eugene region of the United States, of how we can think about what it might mean to build village, which is thinking of tenderness. And one of the things I often navigate, I've been teaching this work up and down the United States for the last 10 years, is oftentimes I'm invited to help people think about what does it mean to have a safer environment for diversity to thrive and sustain itself in an environment that oftentimes cannot be as diverse as the culture would like it to be in the sense of the organizers or the spirit of the event, right? And so oftentimes I find myself in environments where I'm amongst 150 people, I might be the only African heritage male present, and if I am, maybe one or two other folks in there present, that's not a problem. I actually am fine and I've trained for that and I'm nervous and set up for that. But I notice this almost hopeless feeling comes up when it comes to a sustainable practice of diversity, right? There's someone that's like, we just can't do it, it's impossible, and we just kind of walk away and don't track the tenderness of what it might look like and the kind of otherwise militant energy we might take to try and force diversity to happen, force sustainable village to happen. And I know some things do take a lot of work and pressure and sacrifice. I'm not taking that out of the equation, but I really have found that specifically in the work that I have been up to for the last, say, 2 years specifically, that tenderness has been something I have been sleeping on, the medicine of it, and that I have unconsciously attached tenderness to weakness. Like I didn't even know I had put those words together quietly, but every time I thought tender, it's the way if I have a tender spot on my body, I'm like, oh, the spot's weak. I don't acknowledge my body's actually doing some radical healing on that spot, right? That's why it's tender to touch, because it's doing all kinds of healing work. And anytime I see, that's tender, that's a weak, in my head, that's weak, right? And I think weakness actually has some power to it as well, but I found that tenderness oftentimes is evidence of some of the biggest healing that's actually taking place. That tenderness is actually needed for the magic that needs to kind of come forth, can't happen without some tenderness. Oftentimes tenderness is evidence of big work has just happened, right? It's almost like the evidence, right? If there's not enough tenderness there, it means the work still needs to happen, right? And I oftentimes find the hardest thing to do when integrating a space is to not get tender later, but to arrive tenderly. That's one of the hardest things to try and do. It's like I'm gonna show up and I don't know if they can see my whole self, whatever my identities are. It's so hard to show up tender. That's a radical act to think I'm gonna show up tenderly. And so I sit with that because I feel like there's a place where I have been doing, I think, simple, practical work. I have a documentary called Dark and Tender. To me, the concept is not even that radical in the human sense. It's simply focusing on inviting African heritage men to gather and work on holding each other's hands, listening to each other, cuddling, being close. Some of you are all like, I cuddle every day, all day. That doesn't seem impressive to me. But there's a way that when you hold this body identity in this country called the United States, when you ask for tenderness and closeness, it feels very disruptive, almost feels inappropriate. And that's this evidence that there's been a big story told that in this context of the film and a narrative that this identity of the black male body cannot be tender unless it's hypersexualized. And that's not even tender in that context, right? That platonic tenderness is almost a kink in the context of how it's like put aside. It's like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I say it because I'm using this model because I'm in the swimming in that, but this model actually ripples through beliefs that we all might just carry in our bodies without even realizing that we have certain identities around us that we like, oh, that can't be tender. That can't be, or I can't be in that spot. So I want to ask the kind of questions that allow us to think about the concept of a village, right? Like, what is actually a village? And I think some ways I've been like the kind of early on we talked about the fart and what that kind of implications of that is. I want to speak to that, fart has what we call like a brand, a story, movies, jokes. There's probably 1,000. You Google fart jokes, the internet will almost just give you 1,000. 5 more minutes. We'll give you 1,000 jokes to use, right? But I want to name that village also has similar things. I think visuals of like a little fire in the middle and little huts kind of a bite, and we're all kind of about in the village. And that could be a village. That's true. That's a image I come to my mind immediately when I say village. But I oftentimes don't track that village. Oftentimes is way more awkward, way more organic, way more out of control, and way more unpredictable than the visuals we kind of hold as the context of a village. And some of us are holding profound village in the middle of chaos and don't even know you're doing it. You think, I'm failing at being in village, and you're doing exactly what village is. And so I want to also just track what it might look like to reframe what village is and what does it look like to be successful when not enough is the theme song. Like, what does it mean? Historically, that's how this entire country was made, right? Never had enough, supposedly, right? But eventually, through a lot of different activity, we have this thing called America, right? I mean, roads, taxes, planes, computers, AI, all this started with not enough, right? Now, it's hard to see that now, these machines are up, but I want to name that what I'm hoping for in our redefining of the Tinder village is that this village is tender, but it's also resilient. It also is the bacteria, it is the infection to the bigger system, right? We are going to embrace the cockroach. We're going to embrace the rat. We're going to be in that space. Because we don't think of when I think of village now, I think of the cockroach, how effective they are at making village, right? It gives me chills when I lift up something like that and they're all going like, ah! But that's is like I'm losing. That's me going, ah! Because I know I've lost. When they also like that, I've lost. Right? You know that when you're in your house, you're like, I know I'm pretty good. You open your bathtub and you see one cockroach, you've lost. Right? Because you saw one, right? Down there in the sink, there's like 80 of them just waiting to come up. You just happen to catch that one because you changed your patterns, right? I just want to name that we want to be that. We want to be that. When the bigger system moves the barrel, oh, shoot, another Tinder villages. We're infected. Right?
How long Jeff Bezos is going to smell.
Right, exactly. No, right? No. Eventually, right? But you see what I'm saying? Like, that's it. I want us to understand that can be us if we are persistently clear about how important our minds and hearts are, right? Some of us are, that's what I name, that's what we're talking about village. We're not talking about a village that's comfortable. We're talking about a village that's is tucked in any kind of warm, moist space. It's growing. It's growing. We're just growing, right? And I think that's the thing that I really want us to track when I talk about village today and tenderness. I really want to invite that level of creativity that I can feel in this room. I can feel when we sing. I can feel when we're trying to think. And I love, one thing people often ask me that aren't familiar with my kind of trek up in the Northwest, Aaron, why do you go to fill in the blank city in the Northwest? Why do you go? Like they don't know. And one of the things I find is I track hearts. I track hearts, right? Sure. Race, class, stability, all is important. But I track is the heart connection I feel with, not, I wouldn't say random, but individuals have compelled me to show up and trust that this can be spreadable, buildable, and the thinking is worthy to encourage and support. It's the hearts. It's the hearts. We might be different in many different ways, but I find sometimes when I hold someone's hand and listen to them share and watch a creativity come alive, I'm always amazed on what becomes possible. On what becomes possible. Since my second 5 minutes is coming up, I'm going to do some singing, and then I want to divide us up into small groups. I think we can do it. This room not quite packed enough that we can't get into some micro small groups. But don't move yet. But just want to do some sounding. Before I do some sounding, I want to check in if anyone I had a thing come through my body, a question, a curiosity. I want to speak to it just so it's in the air before we go into singing. Just want to give space.
Cockroaches are one of the most resilient species.
Hands down, right? Respect.
I don't have a notebook with me, and Alex reminded me in the last session I could use my phone.
Yes.
I was taking some notes on my phone. I just want to say I'm not texting anyone.
Totally.
I'm
Totally.
right here, and
Totally.
I appreciate that if that's
Yeah. recording, typing on your phone, all that's acceptable and welcome. So if you need to be like, I can't catch stuff, I want to be present, I don't want to take too many notes, I can record you, or use whatever technology you want to use to document this experience would be helpful, and that's fine. Thank you for checking in, that's really great. Thank you for checking for me and the group. So check hands, yeah.
I just want to name like the idea of embracing the parasites
Yes.
to this system.
Right,
And just, that's okay, there's a necessary place there.
Yes.
So thank you.
No, I appreciate you highlighting that piece. I see some, you're stretching, yes.
I'm just curious, maybe I spaced out for a second,
Good.
but I'm just curious, I'm really stuck on I'm curious how you track hearts.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that.
No, it's huge, yeah. So the question was, how do I track hearts? I didn't initially even know I was doing it, right? I was coming up for doing dismantling racism work, and I had some critical eyes for Northwest. I think beyond the propaganda of the story, I hadn't hung out with the people. And one of the things that has been hard for me, just in general in my particular positionality or identity, is that early on in my life, I love deeply, have a huge capacity to love people. And so for me, I remember the first time I was on tour coming to Portland. I was going to have a workshop in Portland. If anyone happened to be at that workshop and happens to be here, that'd be amazing. But I had a workshop. The first workshop I was taught here, I was driving a little Toyota Yaris. I had enough gas to get from Southern California to Portland pretty much. Not enough gas to get home. You understand the logic of the budget program was just enough to get to Portland, teach the workshop. If everyone paid their fees and whatever, I have enough gas to get home. That was the structure of that first trip in the Yaris. And the Yaris is really efficient on gas, but even that was not enough to have a round trip, right? So I say that because that was actually normal for me back then. I was like how I roll most places. I got enough to get there, and then the miracles get you back home. That was just typical how I roll. But it was a long distance. I didn't know anyone in Portland, and I had a kind of low-key, just kind of, I'll call it soft, judgment on just how much they can't track oppression and racism and people of the global majority, and that means non-white folks. And I thought, that's this kind of soft critique. It was just in the back of my head. I don't know if I knew it was there. And I remember driving from Southern California to my first workshop. I was in the living room. And I remember getting to the living room, there was maybe 30 people in the room, and I felt the first ping of I love these folks. There's something naturally, beautifully awkward about folks in Portland, the outfits, the energy, the creativity. you know what I'm talking about, right? It's just something really beautiful about it you don't get in Southern California. It's just different. And I was like, these people are my people. I saw some dirty feet in the room, and I was like, folks, I carry a bucket of clay with me everywhere I go, and I usually carry it, and we have workshops with it when I'm not flying. And I was like, these folks, there's something's here. That's the first wave I got. But I was like, I'm gonna teach the workshop, and I taught the workshop, and I remember when I got done with the workshop, we did some hand holding, some listening. I remember getting done and just checking in with some folks after it was over. And they were explaining some parts of the work that hit them deeply. And what I saw was a clear ping in my chest of this person is very serious about dismantling the systems around them for the rest of their life. It's not just a workshop on a weekend. And that opened my heart up a bit of saying, I underestimated this population. I had one thing in my mind, and I asked this individual I still am connected with, I still do sessions with, and I also looked at her and said, in my head, I don't do this anymore, I promise. I said, this person is not gonna be here in a couple of months. They're gonna come to work, get overwhelmed, so many black people, and leave. That person was one of the most resilient, focused, clear thinking people I interacted with, and that shifted my brain. It changed my hope. And that's one of the ways I started tracking hearts in a way that I don't know how many times you guys watch a competition and the stats say the team will lose by 50 points or 20 points, and all of a sudden it's an upset. And oftentimes the upset is basically an accumulation of they can't calculate heart. It comes down to it. They can't do the math of if you got this much talent, you can run this fast, none of that matters when it comes to heart. And so that's why I started to track is that the ecosystem here punches much heavier in human connection and opportunity than a lot of places that have 10 times the amount of people, 10 times the amount of budget, 10 times the amount of whatever it might be. I think we punch harder than we think when it comes to, I think one of the problems I would say I still am working with, and this workshop is talking to right now, is I feel like this ecosystem underestimates itself. I feel if I had one thing I would say is that we get a little bit overwhelmed and been we're just gonna unplug We're gonna move and go on to Canada. We don't need y'all going on to Canada. We need you to stay right here. No, I'm serious. We need you to stay right here. I think you underestimate what it looks like to start with 100 points down on whatever the activity is. No, the other team ain't got a chance. We're down by 100 and then got a chance about what we're about to do, right? I think there's a little bit of that I'm wondering for, but I sense it in the air, so I'm here. I sense it in the air, it's here. But that's the one thing I think here in the village, I feel like we just quietly underestimate the one song we write, the one friend we make, the one thing we do. We underestimate that a bit, especially around this work of dismantling oppression and building that really tender village, right? I think that's the piece. So when I track hearts, I then took note, because that workshop did come through with enough economics, not only for me to come back home, but I was able to continue the workshops up to the peninsula. I didn't even know Port Townsend, Port Angie even existed. I knew about Seattle and Portland, that's about it. I went to those small little spaces and went up there and finished the workshop up there and went all the way back home easily and safely. But that turned a corner in my energetic field of like, I continued to start opening my mind up, surprise enough. I opened my mind up, I started seeing, oh, there's so many more hearts available to start connecting with and start building with. And I've been able to even build Dark and Tender. The radical work of Dark and Tender would not exist. It was for 4 key people that live here in the Northwest that said, we're gonna make sure that work happens, right? When it was about to collapse, we were like, oh, we're gonna do it. The funds are gonna be there, it's not gonna happen. And 4 people said, we're gonna make sure that happens. And that's not surprising at the time, but I didn't know that was the capability of the region at all, right? They aren't confused about what we're up to when you're trying to burst up that feels as radical as being platonically available to each other as black men in this country, right? That shouldn't be a radical idea, but they weren't confused at all. They're like, we're gonna make sure that's backed, that's invested in, right? So I just want to name that. I started to track that there's something here that can continue to be born. So I'm here to start planting those seeds. That's how I tracked hearts, and that was how I still continue to track hearts. I don't take any one of you all for granted when it comes to our ability to really fall in radical love to dismantle the systems we're about to build, right? All right, that's what we're doing. This is how it works. This is how it works. Great, thank you. We're gonna sing a little bit. Call and response. I'll sing a phrase, you sing a phrase back to me. The last word of the phrase, keep holding that until the end. So I'll say something like, each day I'll do. You'll say, each day I'll do. And you'll hold that do out until I give you the next phrase. If you already know the song, jump in. Also, I use numbers sometimes. 10 is as loud as possible. 1 is as quiet as possible. Obviously, 0 is silence. I may use that randomly, just be aware of it, but don't worry about it too much. Each day I'll do a golden deed by helping those who are in need. My life on earth is but a strand, and so I'll do the best I can. Life's evening sun is sinking low. A few more days, and I must go to meet the deed that I have done, where there will be no setting sun. One of the hardest parts of shorter workshops and lots of people is how to break up into small groups. And I have had 100 ways to do it. And I think in this context, I'm gonna invite a casual chaos of just like, grab those folks, kind of deal. And I say that because I want to just give a space to not spend too much time selecting the groups, because the more random, the more slightly uncomfortable, the better actually it is, I think, in this context, in the sense of like, I think it allows fresh thinking to come to the surface. And if you feel unsafe in a group or you feel like you need a shift, please let me know and we can renegotiate that. But I just want to do a time check. We started a little bit later than we wanted. What time did we end here? We have 90 minutes. We're 2:45. Please, we're good. We're still good. Let's making sure we're going to go an hour past. I really want to respect 2:45. So what I want to do is I want to get groups close to 5. Close to 5. You feel me? So if you're 6 or you're 4, it's okay. It's like naturally grouped here. So you're stuck kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just be the group. 6, be the group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You want to be the group? So it's kind of like see each other. Did I get you R? I didn't get you R yet. I'm gonna have you R here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Be the group. And if you kind of get close to each other a little bit, if you can, if you feel able to do so, just so I can kind of, and if you're already kind of self-selecting your group around you, just kind of do it around you, it's still fine. All right, you guys looking like a group. Are you I recognize you. Yeah, I know you. Yeah, I'm doing good. So 1, 2, 3. Can we get 4? Can we go 5? Is that happening right there? Is that happening? Can you raise your hand? Get 6 of y'all. Cool, you're already happening. The couch, is the couch happening? If this is happening, the couch is up here. I love that. You found each other. Love this wolf dog. It's happening. Anyone got accidentally pushed out of a group? Anyone's like, I haven't found a group accidentally. Complete accident. Grouped. If you're not in a self-made group, raise your hand. I want to make sure you're placed. Great. I think we're all there. We're going to sing. We're going to sing. I reach down, 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 deep. I reach down, 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 deep. Mother Earth. Mother Earth welcomes me. Mother Earth welcomes me. Give yourself 5 seconds, let the song settle us before we start to socialize and get the revolution moving into small groups. I want to take a full 5 seconds and let ourselves just notice we've found some human beings we may or may not know. All right. So we're in these quick small groups, and I want to acknowledge the fact that someone right close to you might be talking about something completely different and have a whole different experience, and you're in your little space. That's when I encourage some thoughtfulness on just overall volume and intensity, just because we're in such a tight space. But as a couple of things that I want us to try to notice. A couple things I want us to try and notice. We're going to time this. I can time this myself. We're going to time this about 5 minutes, right? And there's a couple of things I want us to do. So we have the largest group. Is the largest group 7 or 6? Is anyone bigger than 6? Anyone bigger than 6? Cool. If no one's bigger than 6, we'll do a total of 6 minutes. We're going to do a minute each person. Now, I want to name, sometimes when you're asked to speak for a minute, you're like, I don't want to speak for a minute. I'm a listener. I listen for a long time, so speaking for a minute is not a thing I want to do. And someone else here might be like, I can talk for 20 minutes without stopping. That's what I do. I'm a talker. And I want to honor both of those spectrums of how we communicate. But what I want to do here is allow us to practice giving each other attention. Part of, to me, of a tender village, oftentimes, if we have any kind of major conflict, it's usually a lack of listening happening anyway. So what does that mean? What that means is I'm going to have a timer to give everybody at least a minute to think about the prompt. Now that person might be, I'm not a talker. I have a whole minute, and I don't want you all staring at me for the whole minute because that makes me feel even more nervous and anxiety, but I want to hand that time off to someone else. But the invitation is that you take that time to consider the prompt, right? You take that time. Now some of you all have a group of 3 or 4. That means you have like a minute and a half, so you can just do the math extra. That overall 7 minutes won't be wasted upon the larger group, so you can still use that time. But this is the thing I want to try and notice. A simple activity here in this is that before you hear the prompt, track what it means like to be heard. So you might be like, when I hear people hear me, eye contact is great. Some of y'all are like, don't stare at me actually. But I think if you can look anywhere but at me as I share, that would be great. Just kind of give a little, this is how it feels good to be heard, right? Some of y'all are like, I would appreciate if someone held my hand while I shared about what this prompt is coming up from my body. Some of y'all are like, actually don't touch me, and this will be good for me, but make that like a 20-second experience, So the idea is you're trying to listen to the folks in your small group as effectively as possible. Now, this is a challenge I want us to think about in the prompt. Forgive me for the example, but just follow my logic here. Sometimes someone might get a bullet lodged in their body, and they do an x-ray and they say, you know what? If we go in there and get the bullet out, it'll cause more damage to the body, so we'll leave the bullet in and let it work itself out naturally. It's not in a place that's gonna cause any harm, work it out naturally. And sometimes we'll do a scan and go, oh, that bullet is in a spot, we can go and get it, it'll make you feel better, you're safer, and you'll live because of it, right? Two concepts, the bullet is too far in the wrong spot, going in and getting it causes damage. It's in a great spot, we can go get it and you'll be okay. Now, the reason I use that example is I find in my gift of interacting with a lot of groups of folks is in conflict, in hard spots, we treat everything as a bullet we must be able to get out. Even if it causes more damage to the entire village and community to get the bullet out. The communication says we're going to solve and resolve the problem, and the problem's resolved, and the community is broken. We solved the problem, though. We fixed it. No, Aaron, you felt healed. I'm healed. Now everyone else in my family is damaged. The process is the bigger wound. Now, it's not disrespecting all the good processes we have to heal, but the prompt is putting our minds toward being able to notice when a trauma or hurt needs to be addressed or it needs to be left alone. Now, I'm not saying we're going to fix it. We're going to put our minds there. What kind of scenario? It could be a personal one. It could be a community one. When do we know how to back away and go, that's just going to hurt for a minute? It'll self-solve. No, we need to address that right now. Believe it or not, I have found that's one of the hardest questions in building community is knowing when to work on the healing and when to let the healing heal itself. Because the default is heal everything. 6 hours of processing. I don't care if you got 2 jobs and 4 partners and no money. We're going to take the 6 hours and we're going to process that problem until it's processed and you will be healed. You were like, I just wanted to say sorry and get back to work because we got oppression to deal with. Right? I just want to know, this is not, as light as this is a really layered question that I want us to hold collectively. When do we go in? And when do we step back and go, let that heal? Let that self-teach.
And how do we pick the right moment?
And how do you pick the right moment, right? When do we? Because sometimes it's nuanced. You only have a minute to solve such a complex problem, right? So you understand it's more about you just thinking about it, going, I noticed in my life, this is like I could have left that alone. Or I just want to hear your minds and your hearts here. Because we're trying to think about building a tender village allows us to be good at that piece. It is very vulnerable and tender to be like, I have caused harm and I'm going to walk this one off. Yeah.
So to clarify, the question is when do you go after an issue and when do you leave it alone?
Exactly. When do you go in and when do you not?
And we're giving examples.
You can use examples. You can sit there and be going, I can't stand Aaron. Well, the idea is that you want to put your mind there. You want to put your mind there. Now, try to be a little quieter than that because there's a lot of us in the room. But the idea is that, no, but I'm serious. I want us to put our minds to go, what comes up in our body? You might be like, I don't have an answer, but what comes to my body is I've never actually thought about letting a trauma sit intentionally. Letting it sit and letting it adjust. Letting maybe evolution take more of a move on that ecosystem. Maybe dysfunction is the brilliance, right? Jazz, blues, that came out of not a happy life. That dysfunction made the magic. The oppression made the music, right? If we fixed it, the songs would disappear. But the songs are part of that scar over the wound that make it magic. You follow me? So I want your minds just to look at that and feel the question more so than speak to it. I love stories. I love you to listen to. But that's the question I want us to be able to notice collectively. And so if you're like a minute each, there's not enough time, this is where the seed comes in. We want you to carry this question and keep building around it. I think the scar tissue around this particular question is the village, right? The scar tissue around this question is the village. Not the flowers, I love flowers, not the beautiful wood nest. The scar tissue around this question is where we're gonna build the village, okay? All right, so I have the timer here. It took me 6 minutes to set that up, I didn't realize. All right. We're going to give everybody a minute. I'll call the minute out. You can self-select. All right, first minute starts almost now. 1 second. I'm not ready. Okay. First minute starts now.
Like, sometimes it's just not worth it, is what I'm saying. Like, I kind of engage, like, does this person have the capacity to meet me halfway? Like, will this end up being power than it is now if I address it? Or is addressing it with this person is going to open a can of worms, it's going to be chaotic, it's never really going to resolve everything for the person. That's usually one of the questions. It depends on the person, the situation. If it's a person that I do feel has the capacity, because I generally want to solve the issue. I'm the kind of person where I think that, like, unnecessary discomfort, just like sitting in this thing, it's just like seething and creating possible resentment and just irritating you and like looping in your head. It's like, you know, if this can be.
That's 1 minute. That's 1 minute. Starting our second minutes. Starting our second minutes. Second minute starts now. We're going to 6 minutes total time. That is 1 minute. Our third minute starts now. That's 1 minute. Find a switch. That was 2 minutes. We have 2 more minutes total. Fifth minute starts now. This is our last minute. We're in our last total minute. That's time. Take another minute, help wrap up your group. When you've wrapped up, try and find a quieter voice to kind of sit for the next part. All right, that's time. Let us sing. I reach down, down, down deep. I reach down, down, down deep. Mother Earth, Mother Earth welcomes me. Mother Earth again. Every voice is welcome. I reach down. Let's go up to a 6. I reach down, deep. Yes, I reach. I reach down, deep. Mother Earth, let it swell, Mother Earth. Mother Earth. And it gets quieter. And again. Mother Earth, yeah. Welcomes me. Mother Earth, last time. Mother Earth, welcomes me. Let it settle. Let's give her full 10 seconds of just letting that all settle on us. The thinking, the attention, the singing. Maybe the tenderness. Is there anyone here that's a natural scribe, has no problem like just taking notes for the kind of collective group so we'll keep track of some of the thinking that might come up? Any natural scribe? We have a natural scribe here, thank you. Any other natural scribes? Just want to track maybe 2. We have a second, thank you. So as people are thinking, if you don't mind just taking some notes for us, and don't mind giving those to me at the end just so I can hold those. And don't be nervous about like how accurate and sweet it's going to be. Just like whatever feels good for you, as long as we can get kind of a casual thing. Anyone else taking other kind of recording notes, that'd be useful, but those two scribes will be just checking with me at the end. So stay aware of your groups. Feel free to turn towards me. But I want to start maybe in the far corner, not know what that means exactly, but over in that far corner, if a group wants to share, the word I'll use is what came up. It could be an incomplete thought. It could be like, this is what we noticed. But just like what you were able to look at in 6 minutes in that corner region, if you want to. You could also pass and come back to you too. Pass. All right, pass. Anyone next to that corner group that might want to speak about what they're able to know?
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're back to the group, yes.
Yeah. So like if that bullet is gonna hit everyone in the community or a bunch of people in the community, then it's like we gotta pull that out.
You gotta pull that out.
But if that's just hit you and it's like this one instance, then it's like let that sit, let the ripples fade.
Right. So tracking the impact, like is this gonna shape the whole group, or is it someone that could hold that and that could be isolated in some way so it doesn't chunk in? That's a good one take on that, yeah.
And do you have like a surgeon skilled enough in the crew to help remove the bullet, or do you have to wait for a surgeon to arrive?
This is important. You bring up a good point. Now that's like in the bigger, but worthy to note here in our note taking, it's like sometimes there's someone that's good at going in skillfully and taking out that, feeling that harm without causing damage to everyone, and some people have a hard time. So you might have to wait until some of those, will, lack of better term, surgeon that could show up and be that support. Right? And it might be a place where we're refining that skill set as a community to have that person more available to support communities. Yes?
What do we do if culturally, within this sphere we're in right now in this space of time, the damage is so traumatic that we have no choice but to go get that?
Right. And I think it's important to note, right? Sometimes it's obvious, right? I think it was obvious. You're 100% right. What was said here, I just want to echo it, is that sometimes it's so catastrophic, so big, we have to address it. At risk of collapsing more, we just realize it's so big, it feels so significant that it's worthy to take the risk. And this is like, again, this is like there's so many nuances to this concept. I just appreciate that being spoken. We also want to acknowledge that oftentimes it's obvious. I think what I'm speaking to mostly too, not that we should erase that narrative at all, is that to me, it's just 1,000 micro wounds that happen. Even this event, I'm sure since Thursday, there's been all these, and there's a way that we can track what does it mean to build resilience around those little ones that often can accumulate to bigger ones. And there's sometimes the big thing, when you address it, right? That's important. Thank you for that piece. Yes?
I think it's also, for me, tracking how many times this bullet's been used and what the origin of this bullet was.
Right.
Where, when it was
right.
So tracking the origin of the
That
bullet itself.
has a lot to do with it. Yeah. This almost feels like the kind of that community member surgical activity of, oh, this is something that's been going on. This needs to be, if we can stop it here, this is what will stop a whole, my favorite term is getting ahead of the trauma story. We can get ahead of the trauma story, get ahead of the hurt. Great, right over here. Right.
Personally, when I boiled it down, it's like, what is the motivation in approaching the wound?
Right.
And it's like, are we motivated from love or from fear? Right. With love is trust. Right. With fear is scarcity. Right. And so like, sitting with that discomfort is medicine, right? Like just being okay with being uncomfortable, leaving it unresolved, right? Waiting for the moment when we can show up in love, right? But that's, like, where is our motivation?
I love that. We're talking about like 1 minute takeaways. What is our motivation? I always like to source, right? Why do we source where we're coming from? Is it coming from a place of like, I'm trying to get back at somebody, but I'm gonna disguise it as healing? I'm trying to really show up to preserve the collective. So important. Thank you. I see your hands coming up, so we're grabbing people right here. Yeah. I'm gonna keep going. But go. Yeah. Please.
So the motivation often can be like, oh, that makes me uncomfortable, right? And some people want to move into it because they're uncomfortable, and other people want to avoid because they're uncomfortable, and that can create its own conflict and wounding. And then with that, we talked about the core value. Well, you're in relationship, so what is the core value that brought you together? Because you can remember that you're a good person. We share this value, and there's this thing that's happening. So then tracking is that a systemic issue within you?
Right.
Is that coming from your childhood?
Right.
Where is the origin point?
Right.
So that we can then say, yeah, okay, this happened, but it's actually not between you and I.
Right. Right.
Or maybe it is.
But not exclusively.
Right, yeah,
Right.
and silence being part of the conversation, space being part of the conversation.
Right, and you bring up a good point too, not directly, but came to my mind as you were sharing, I open up to more people over here, is there's a difference I feel in the bypass, it'd be spiritual or community bypass, where we're dancing over all the bullets. We're just like, no, there's no problem ever. There's never a problem. There's never, it has to really be like a, no, but like there's a way of like tracking that we aren't dancing over all the bullets, but we're knowing that when to move. So I just want to name that in the air. Is we're not just having a disguised way to how to bypass harm and stuff. We're just checking when does it actually make sense? And you're doing an excellent job thus far. Just want to continue that. Just want to give a little more glance over in this area. Yes?
Yeah, I think along with the theme of your workshop around tenderness, I think there's something in calibrating to a particular wound, and so often we don't have, so many of these things are collective chronic illnesses.
Right.
That mirrors what's happening in so many of our bodies these days.
Right.
And that requires tenderness and subtle attunement and things, but we're so in urgency, and it's either avoid or fucking
Right. Oh my God. Oh, scribes, we hear that? Okay, just make sure we're getting there. I want to come back to that myself. It's like the calibration is so important. I don't know how many times we show up with so much more than we need for the situation, and it's partly because we're just like maybe more in our own trauma story of response. I see some hands here.
I just heard a sub-theme in our group about the either-or consciousness, piggybacking on that.
Yeah.
Instead of shifting to the and, just as a cultural consciousness.
Yes.
Collective.
Yes. Either or, but the and. Whole lot of the and. Yes.
I just want to add to that something that came up in our group about potentially part of the reason that you're either avoiding or wanting to rip out the bullet, because we also, maybe some of us have a fear about what it means to actually like be in longevity, unconditional love. Like I'm thinking like bell hooks is, I can't remember the exact definition, but like what it actually looks like to be in unconditional love as opposed to like turning away.
Right. 100%. So we're again, that right there is 2 hours, right? Of us to unpack. Only because like the idea of like, right, we talk about like, you know, being in a relationship has a lot of things about like overcare and you know, how do we titrate that long-term care and love, right? That makes sense. Got you right here. I'm gonna move this way slowly, I promise. Just a lot of hands over here.
Some of my sharing was a little bit more about sitting with the discomfort of keeping the bullet, even if the bullet is removed, still keeping the bullet.
Ooh.
And how that can
Right. Ooh. That's important too. We're good at hiding things, but it's good to like, no, this happened. This hit me and it's here. It's not in me anymore, but it's here. That's what it looks like. And if it's ever used again, we know how to identify what's happening, how to build some protection against that. All right, I'm just gonna kind of move this way a little bit and check this side of the room. Just check eyes and hands. I know we shared a little bit already, but just gonna check. I see a hand over here. I'm not leaving forever, but just wanna. All right, we're right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that came up for us was discernment, and like, I guess on an individual level for me, I really decide upon whether or not to go after the bullet, depending on the capacity of the other person.
Right.
Like, do I feel like this person is able to meet me halfway, they're reasonable, we can like have an actual discussion and resolution, or is trying to address this issue going to create more chaos, more dysregulation, and overall not really be worth it, and it's more draining than healing? That's usually when I make that decision.
100%. I love that word capacity. And it was gonna pop up eventually, and that's one of my go-tos. It's like, what is our actual capacity, right? Like, what is it actually at, right? And that's like, thank you. Scribes, thank you for being here. Yeah, I see your hand, yes.
Yeah, going off of that, I really brought in that parts of the nervous system, and I think that's like, it's not trying to go into the trauma, it's going into like, oh, can we hold with tenderness our nervous systems?
Yes.
And find ways to settle and come into regulation. And then from that place, then it becomes obvious. The healing just happens. Like, it comes to the surface, whatever needs to come, the body knows, and it will come. And when we're all in that place of feeling present and grounded and settled, then things will flow and healing will happen so much more naturally.
I love that, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, echoing what others have said, I heard here about like tuning into what's there can be a reactive desire to go in right away, there can be a reactive desire to run away and never look at it. There can be a wise response to go in right away or a wise response to wait. I think it's possible to notice when the motivation has like ego confusion charge around it.
Right.
And I have a burning question about like, so when I notice that in my life, then I can learn to like give it some time, exercise, sit with it. What about when that ego confusion charge like doesn't clear, and then I can't see through that cloud to know whether like, I know maybe I want to go in right away. And I can recognize that's the ego charge.
Right.
But I don't know whether that lines up with wisdom or not.
Right.
My tendency is to just default to like waiting, but that's just my tendency.
Right.
That's not necessarily wisdom.
Is that the wisdom, right? I love that question. And I love the story attached to it. And I love the fact you're an ego. And I would just add to the idea of like, this is where sometimes bounce off other people can help us a bit. Now, that might not be always available, but I just want to say, like, when I hear that, I'm like, oh, that's where like Village and other folks' mind is so helpful to help us kind of work through our own, because sometimes we have too much going on in ourselves to really be clear about our choice to move on something. And I know none of this is like science where we're going to be right every single time. That's almost frustrating. But in that, that's the human part of it. But I think the more we practice ask these questions, it's less likely that we'll be just constantly going in and more trauma-led and not more healing-led. But I love that inquiry. So I'm going to scan a little more for sake of time. Whole 2 minutes, yeah.
I think the emotional maturity and the discernment that we need to handle confrontation is paramount, but also being raw and just holding the highest vision for this person who, or society and system that hurt you, and confronting it instead of kind of withdrawing and thinking they can't handle this or it won't change, and just trusting that if you put it out there and you hope for the best, then whether they receive it or not, or years down the line they do, like you did what you needed to do.
Right, to offer it up, yeah. We're almost out of time. I see hands popping up. 2:45 is the time. Is that what they tell everybody? We're gonna go like 3 minutes over, so I'm gonna take some quick hands here. I know, I'm bringing some rules here. Go right ahead, and I see your hand right there in the back.
Yeah, so I hear a few things that kind of I can synthesize through this idea of timing.
Right.
Right, so it's like the capacity of the other person to receive and your capacity to meet them where they're at. It may just, be a process, and there's not like we're better prepared or they're better prepared.
Right.
We're just not aligning and harmonizing in this moment.
Right.
And the other side that came up for me is just the idea of like, there's not a right and a wrong, and it's always going to be some combination.
Right, exactly. Exactly. That's like kind of like a feeling, but yeah, important piece. I saw a hand here. I don't think you shared yet, so go ahead.
Yeah, you spoke really beautifully to part of this, but I think about timelines and how we as humans have our own timeline of when we think things should happen. And we're actually at intersections of countless timelines in this universe, geologic timelines, natural timelines, seasonal. And when we're thinking about leaving the bullet in and it'll eventually work itself out, like there is something about like how can we as a village hold the space for that person in the fact that it's going to be fucking uncomfortable until that happens.
Right. I'm so glad we got your hand before we closed out this work. I saw a hand over here. We're gonna wrap us up, I think, almost. Sorry for anyone who's missing.
Just one word that I hadn't heard that I learned from my daughter, and that's curiosity.
Yeah.
Because when you approach a conversation, no matter how difficult, if you come into it with curiosity about the other person's point of view, and maybe why that bullet landed the way it did,
right.
and being willing to listen versus coming in defensive and accusatory. And so to be curious about the other person's point of view and perspective kind of starts a different conversation.
Thank you. The beauty of workshops like this is we have like limited time. And I thank for the scribes already and those that might organic notes. I want to say two things about this. We have a notebook somewhere, don't we? We have a notebook. I was like, I have a notebook somewhere. We have a notebook. A notebook is typically for like I want to stay in contact with your newsletter. Not exactly this particular one. I just want to be clear about what you're signing up for if you are. I am obsessed with ripples of workshops. I'm obsessed with those that have the attention to write their information down so we can gather again, either virtually, most likely being that we're kind of scattered throughout the country, and really notice what we can get up to that can support what you're already doing, can maybe adjacent start something slightly new, but most likely make sure we find out what level of water we want to pour on our minds and hearts as we really get clear about strengthening this ecosystem. This ecosystem meaning this region, this country, your household, your small company that's going to interrupt the entire ecosystem in about 10 years. We just didn't know it. Your next thought matters, but it's mostly about orienting towards skillfully dismantling oppression. And so that is the only thing you're going to get from this sign up for this list is a thoughtful reach out from us via text or email to gather and have a more spacious time, probably a smaller group than we currently have right now, maybe bigger knowing y'all. The idea is that we can really have some spaciousness, clarity about where our capacity allows, or maybe even some healing can take place in a sense of like, oh, this thing just happened, I could use some resource. I use an emotional surgeon over here to help us think about this hurt, that we can really make sure we're supporting each other in this growth in our work. We're over time a little bit. I want to close with a song just to make sure our bodies can leave here with a song on our hearts. I want to thank you so much for being at this workshop, every single one of you all. And I don't know if there's something happening in here right away, but if it is, we're going to migrate outside to make sure the list is where's the list at right now? It's right here, and work its way this way, but you can also cut the line and be there if you need to. All right, so we're going to sing and close out. A new song, sorry. Lay your head on my pillow. Lay your heart on my soul. Very good. Lay your head on my pillow. New words, new words. Lay your heart on my soul from the top. Lay your head on my pillow. Lay your heart on my soul. Last time through. Lay your head on my pillow. Lay your heart on my soul. We are concluded. The notebook is where?
Will you before you can leave, but can you explain just briefly that song? And also, everyone Google Alilia and listen to her music.
Yeah, that's essential. Baby sister, show some love. The part that's really relevant is the last two phrases, is lay your heart on my soul. I asked her about those phrases. She said, I want to write in a song what it might look like to be close enough to someone that oppression can't fit in between us. That's the action. Take that, internalize that, practice it, find your will, but that's that piece. And yeah, sing the song too, in your homes, in your communities. And those who have already been singing it, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And where's the notebook now? Where's that? There it is. Oh, the notebook's right there. Notebook's right there, so you know. Just so you know.